introduce myself. My name is Mark McMore, Jr. I'm a political activist and a former senior local governmental official. And I'll pass it on over to Kiana.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Good evening. My name is Kiana Abadi. Some of you may know me formally by my maiden name, Kiana Bieria Anderson. I am currently a national program, a program manager for New American Leaders, which is a national program, as well as formerly chief of staff to a Nassau County legislator and former chief of staff to a state assembly member. We're really grateful that all of you are joining us today. There's a smaller group than last time, but I'm sure as we are waiting for more people to join us, we will expand. And I just want to go over our mission statement. Deanna, if you don't mind pulling that up for us. So Young Long Island for Justice, again, is a youth-led collective of organizations, community leaders, and residents focused on increasing public awareness and direct action to further anti-racist policies at all levels of government. Young Long Island for Justice, we really have noticed the power in our young voices and the power in everything that our young people are doing, not only in Long Island, but around the world. We are really taking this movement and taking this moment and making it a movement. It's been almost 2.5 weeks. And I'm sorry to report that unfortunately, as we are advocating for accountability in the police departments, there's still Black and brown people dying. There has been some good news. The Supreme Court has just made it illegal to discriminate against our LGBTQ plus community and brothers and sisters in that area. So that's one win. They made a decision on DACA. So the dreamers are here to stay. Their home is here. Their home is with us. So yay for that. There were still opportunities in cases that the Supreme Court could have decided that would have helped our Indigenous brothers and sisters, as well as taking a stand on police brutality. But you know what, we're gonna take our wins as they come. So we wanna recognize those two moments and those two communities that we also gladly embrace. So we have been doing great work, and these protests and comments and these calls and these donations are doing something. And Young Long Island for Justice is the collective group that wants to further push the movement forward. And it's using the voice of the youth to make that movement more heard. And I'll get off my soapbox and pass it on to my co-host today, Marv.
Great. And as Kiana said, we're a collective. So we have people from all walks of life. We have different organizations here on the call tonight and different people who we work in community with. We just want to speak about some of the structures that we have to make this organization and this collective go forward. We have a steering committee that's made up of leaders who've been committed to racial equity here on Long Island, centering people of color. You'll hear from most of them tonight, and we've been working really hard to strategize and to put together a lot of the great things that you've been seeing. We have the Racial Equity Ambassador program, and that you can sign up right there below on that link. But that's going to be any member who wants to volunteer their time. I know Josh has been putting Josh Gomez Cruzas has been putting together some really good plans in regards to things such as public affairs and communications and different ways that we can help build through that Racial Equity Ambassador. So if you're interested in that work, please sign up in that link, and we'll make sure as we go forward next week, we'll send out an email and start to convene those groups. We have a policy task force that does the data and research collection, and really is going to start to view some of our policy agendas, and the general membership obviously focused on this call, and any member of the public who wants to co-organize with us. Josh, did I leave anything off?
No, I think that's good. Really, the racial equity ambassadors are really key for us to sustain this movement. It's people like you are all on this call right now who are going to help keep this momentum going, who are going to engage your communities, engage your friends and your family, and have these conversations and really explain to them why this is so important. The young folks, you guys really are the next generation, and you're coming into the world now, and you're recognizing that your voice has power. Kiana talked about it. We had a couple big wins in the Supreme Court, but we've also had legislation passed here in the States, so people are listening. And we want to keep that going. So we encourage you, please sign up for the Racial Equity Ambassador position. Marv and I will be working with that and working with you all and talking about the different committees in the next couple of weeks here. So thank you.
Let me unmute myself. Hey everybody, my name is Deanna DeVudiazel. I am on the steering committee. I am from Rockville Center. Very, very happy to be here. So we just wanted to quickly talk about our summer internship program. So we know that, as everyone has been saying, this is not just a moment, this is a movement, and it has to be a movement that's also centered in education and also in continual growth and honing our skills. So one of the ways that we want to develop a pipeline of political talent on Long Island is to really educate our members in how to work on a campaign, how to have these skills. And so we have developed the Young Long Island for Justice Summer Internship Program, and it's currently open. It will be starting, our orientation week for that program will be starting on Monday, June 29th. And we are going to place you with a campaign. And also we are going to be providing our own programming. We are going to have workshops on how to run a campaign, how to do field work, how to do digital organizing, civic engagement skills, breaking down every layer of government, things, different intersectional issues that affect our communities on Long Island. So if you want to be a part of a group of like-minded folks that are really working to back up you know, on campaigns, what we are saying in the streets, this is how we're going to move the needle. So please apply.
All right.
Marv, do you want to?
Absolutely. So obviously we know tomorrow's a big, big day historically for the Black community, but for all of American history. It's Juneteenth. It commemorates when the last enslaved people in the Confederacy were told that they had been emancipated back in the 1800s. And this was, you know, tomorrow marks 155 years since that day. You know, something that we've celebrated in the Black community ever since we were emancipated, you know, as, you know, a country. So tomorrow is, you know, the way I view it, it's not a day off, it's a day on. I know we'll have some action items throughout this call, but it's a day on, and, you know, we very much hope that, you know, folks are going to be protesting, be contacting elected officials and doing what we can, because the way that we actually commemorate and honor the legacy of slavery is by paying it forward and making sure that we are ending systemic racism for Black people in this county and on Long Island.
Yeah, and definitely an important way to get involved. Even tomorrow and up until Tuesday is in elections. This is super, super important election. June 23rd is Tuesday. It is election day, but there's early voting available until the 21st, which is Sunday. And we're voting for, it's primary season, so we're voting for the Democratic Party candidate if you are registered as a Democrat. The Republicans are going to be voting for whoever they want their candidate to be on the party lines. And the winner of the Democratic primary is going to face off against the Republican nominee come November. So right now we're trying to see who do we want to be our nominee, who do we want, who represents our values best. And there's a lot of exciting races in Long Island, and you should definitely vote. And yeah, and New York has a closed primary, so you have to make sure that you're registered as a Democrat, because if you're registered as an independent or you're unaffiliated, you can't vote in the primary, so you have to be registered as a Democrat. And something to note that there are no registered independents in New York State. There's an independence party, which is like a libertarian party, so don't get confused. But even if you're not registered as a Democrat, you should definitely make sure you're registered to vote, because in November you can vote for any candidate regardless of your party affiliation. But it's really important to make sure you vote, let your voice be heard. And here's a website to look up if you're registered to vote, your party affiliation, are you registered Republican, Democrat, Independent. And also you could see like what state districts you live in, county districts and federal districts. It's really important to know who your legislators are on every single layer of government. Any one of us probably has between like 8 to 10 people representing us. And we have to make sure that we vote for each of these offices from the highest levels to president all the way down to school board. And it also gives you where you can vote on election day. And it's also important to know that since there is early voting, we should definitely make efforts to early vote. That way there are less people there on Tuesday, election day. And there are 15 locations in Nassau County, and there are 12 in Suffolk County. And before you go to the polls, make sure you check the hours, and you can always go to our website, livoters.com, for more information. And here's the Suffolk County ones sites. We're gonna leave it post these later and on our website, so you'll see them. And also the Nassau County ones. You also really make sure to make sure that when you go to the polls when they're actually open, each day of the week has different hours, especially on the weekends. They have truncated hours. So make sure you go. Also, something important to note is that early voting, you can go to any one of these 16 sites, but on election day, you are assigned a specific polling spot. So early voting, you can vote wherever and one of these locations, but on election day, you are assigned a specific polling spot.
All right.
And yeah, thank you. I'm going to throw it to Kiana.
I started talking before you passed it over to me. That's my bad, y'all. So I'm going to be talking to you really briefly about the census. And my first line there is New York is at risk of losing a congressional seat. So the census every 10 years is when everyone is counted, and I mean everyone. There originally at the beginning of this year was a concern about there being a citizenship question that is no longer on the census. So we are really pushing for everyone to make sure that you filled out the census, make sure that it's accurate, because the census has a lot of power and a lot of influence, and it dictates how much money Long Island gets. And if we are undercounted, if we don't have proper information of who's here, our demographics, then we lose out on a lot of support that we absolutely need out here on Long Island. And the reason why the first line is New York is at risk of losing a congressional seat is because we've already lost one back in 2010. We are at this year, if we do not properly fill out the census, that means that we're going to lose even more congressional seats. And for those of you that, for all of us out on Long Island, we have one person that represents all of Suffolk and one person that represents all of Nassau, but a total of 5 congressional representatives. You have on the far west coast, you have Congressman Gregory Meeks, who is also facing a primary, but he represents the majority of Queens and a portion of Nassau. You have Tom Swazi, who is also facing a primary, who represents Queens, Nassau, and a portion of Suffolk. You have Congresswoman Kathleen Rice, who is the only person that only represents all of Nassau. You have the gentleman that's retired, Congressman Pete King, who we saw an image of where there's a primary in both the Republican and Democratic races, and he represents Nassau and Suffolk. And then the Congressional District 2 is the only district that represents all of Suffolk, Congressional District 1, thank you, Deanna, who represents all of Suffolk County. So it's very important that we have more representation on Long Island. It's crucial because we need to make sure that the taxpayer dollars that we're giving to the federal government come back and support our resources. So that's really important. And the biggest issue is that a lot of the communities that are undercounted are the communities that are overly policed. They go hand in hand. So there's this big fear of government knowing who you are, knowing where you are, and that we need to change that. We need to change that mentality. And it's going to take those of us that are here on this platform and that are at home to really make sure that we're explaining to our parents and our families, we need to be counted. We need to make sure that we have that we need to make sure that the government knows who we are, where we are, what our demographics are, and what our needs are. There's over $650 billion in the federal budget that should be coming to Nassau that isn't. And we're losing a lot of information. It's completely safe and easy to fill out the census. It's the 21st century, we're millennials and younger, everything is online. So you don't have to you can fill out the paper ballot. There was a push before COVID-19 to have people come to have people do door to door and you fill out the census in person. But unfortunately, it is what it is. We're dealing with multiple pandemics. So you can go online on a secure government site, fill out who you are, your address, how many people live in your house, what age everyone is, and do it from the safety of your own home. So we have our link on here. It's my2020census.gov. And to further hone in how serious the census is, I am from Freeport. Me and my family did the census. Right now, you can look up how many people have filled out the census numerically. You can only find people's numbers. It says that in Freeport, only 100 people are there. Now, I don't know about you guys, if you've ever been to Freeport, I know for a fact, I know more than 100 people who live in Freeport. So Baldwin has the same low numbers, Hempstead, Roosevelt, Uniondale, those are areas that we really need to get into and very fiercely advocate for the census. So that is all I have on the push for the census. So please make sure that you take this information, not only run with it, but like kind of shove it down people's throats a little bit, force it on them, because we really need to make sure that we're counted and we can't afford to lose any more representation in the federal government. I'm also going to be talking about Cuomo's Reimagining Police Initiative and County Executive Curran and Ballone's PACT, Police and Community Task Force. So YLIJ had sent a letter to County Executive Curran and Steve Ballone to request that they include youthful community activist voices. We wanted to make sure that the generation that is really advocating for change, as well as the populations that are being heavily policed, have a seat at the table. So we sent our letter requesting that support. Right now on the side, we have the synopsis of the governor's call. Laura Curran had announced the names of the people who are going to be on her PACT, and LIJ does recognize 3 of those individuals as not members of our organization, but each of us on the steering committee or as part of the collective, we've worked with those individuals. So we have the full confidence of their ability to not only emphasize our issues, but to make sure that we are represented. However, it's great that we have some voice in this organization. However, it doesn't change the fact that the only reason this organization exists is because every single person on this call went to a protest and called their elected officials and donated to organizations and demanded for change. That means we can't stop. It means that the only way we are going to ensure that this PACT does what we need it to do is if we keep calling for it to do it. So I know the governor a few days ago had said, oh, you've gone and you've protested and you won, you got what you wanted, so you can stop protesting. Absolutely not. The only way we got any of this done is because we were protesting. And let's be honest, like, it's COVID, we're trying to be socially distant, please wear your masks. Otherwise, we can't be outside. So just wear your mask, wear your gloves, bring water, and keep protesting, because it's really important that we hone in on the fact that these organizations and these task forces that are being created focus on the issues that we care about. And I also want to further and properly care about. I also want to further emphasize the fact that, again, we're protesting and there are still Black and brown bodies being harmed, going missing, being hanged. So we're not done. Because if we're calling for police accountability and Black and brown bodies and LGBTQ bodies are being harmed, while we're calling for accountability, we're not finished. We still have to keep doing. We still have to keep going. So this is a much longer fight, as we keep emphasizing throughout these town halls, but we are getting there. We are getting somewhere. It's just we need to keep their feet to the fire.
100%. Oh, sorry. Just to jump in, yeah. So I know in the beginning we were talking about like campaigns and the census, and maybe it's like, well, why are we talking about that? Like, there's a more immediate crisis, and that's true. the underlying thing embedding all of this is power. Who has it? How do they use it? How do we, the people, collectively create people-centered, powered movements? And so this is what we're going to try to do with every one of our town halls, is really interrogate the current systems of power. How can we build our own power? So, like, Cuomo, right, saw that there was all this protest, and he puts out this executive order that, you know, all the police forces have until April 1st to, what did he say? Reinvent and modernize police strategies, right? And that's interesting, right? That's okay, but we have to be vigilant that what the people who are in power, who have been on the watch while all of this dysfunction has been happening, are not the ones who are going to lead us to solutions. And we have to also be sure that what they are calling for is not some milquetoast diluted sense of what we really need, and is to reimagine community safety. So we had this response. Kiana, you know, we were quoted in the Herald, like Kiana said, the PACT, shout out to Travis. I know he's on this call. He's a good friend of ours. And then Kiana, so that's what we heard from Curran in terms of her response to Cuomo's executive order. And then this is so far what we've heard from Steve Ballone, which is just, he went on Fox News and totally cut out our feet from under us in terms of the whole reinvesting, defunding. I don't know, Kiana, if you want anything to say about this slide. Or
you know, we're saying a lot of things right now. And again, unfortunately, we have to, back to what Deanna was saying, look at the power structures. We are a young group of people who are demanding change, and they don't take us seriously. One, because we're young. Two, because we're intersectionally, generationally diverse, and we're questioning everything. We're questioning how the system is. So yes, you know, we're famous for creating hashtags and slogans, but the mission behind it, the power, the importance behind it is what it is. So we just need to make sure that these boomers that don't think that we can do anything know that we can actually do something, and that a majority of us can vote and keep them accountable to us. Because at the end of the day, once we become part of this the power structures and political structures, they will understand that we have the ability to make change and make power.
Definitely. Was there anything else we wanted to say about that?
Mm-hmm. I do just want to emphasize that the PACT is a first step, because I know that it looks like Sydney had asked the question of if we are content. I mean, if you look at it, we have 4 activists, community activists and students, a hostile law professor, and everyone else is politically appointed. So they've either been involved with the police, connected to the police, or they represent the police in some shape or form. So it's kind of evenly matched, which is okay. We want to have a fair discussion, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the point is that this changes. The system has to change. So we'll see what they do, but we have the power to guide what the PACT discusses by continuing to protest. Just because they've created this PACT doesn't mean we're going away. We still have to, we're still doing it. We're still out on these streets. We're still making these phone calls. So this is the PACTs are the task forces are a great first step, but they're not gonna be able to be enforceful if we don't still have our megaphones and our signs. And it is what it is.
100%. And also the other thing that one of our steering committee members, Nikhil, advocated for is that the communities that are most affected by over-policing and police brutality be represented on these committees. And like Kiana said, like, if this is a committee that's mainly filled with police officers, how can the entity that's supposed to be transforming be, no pun intended, policing themselves? So I think that's that. I am going to, Nikhil, I know Nikhil is on this chat. Let me just unmute him quickly. Can someone unmute Nikhil or make him a co-host?
Hold on. Where is he?
Can you hear me?
There he is.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks again for joining in. I'll just go through our protest and press conference that we had today and some of the next steps for the police union campaign. So for those of you who aren't familiar, we've been in New York City. There's been a great effort by many activists to call on their elected officials to reject police union money. And it has been actually quite successful in that several New York State senators and assembly members in New York City have actually donated the money, particularly ones who are being challenged with primaries. So I think there's you see a very clear correlation in that. But here on Long Island, it's a little bit more difficult in terms of the context. I would say that on Long Island, and our focus right now is looking at the Long Island 6 state senators, the Democrats. And we have a letter that is on our website, and you can sign on to the petition. It basically goes through a couple things. One is it acknowledges and thanks them for their votes on the various legislation, but also challenges them to go further than that. And so today we had a press conference outside of Senator Kaminsky's office, where we had several, the letter was signed by several dozen organizations.
40 and counting.
Right, and thanks to Deanna for putting that together. I would say that the main purpose is to do two things. One is call on them to reinvest the police union contributions into bail funds and community organizations fighting police brutality, particularly Black-led organizations. And second, pledge to no longer take their money in the future. We have as you can see in the graphic, the amount of money the senators have taken from the states, from police unions. Senator Kaminsky has taken more than $100,000. Just a huge amount of money. We believe that if the police unions are one of the greatest roadblocks to achieving systematic change in policing and as well as in criminal justice, the criminal justice system. And so the way we frame this is, and part of the next action steps is we believe that to energize a Democratic base, to get people to volunteer, donate money and their time to these candidates to help them win in November, which we all do, frankly. I think I speak for all of us on the steering committee when we say that we all want our state senators to win, the Democrats to win, and to hopefully gain more seats on Long Island. And so we believe this is an effort for them to actually gain further trust of the community and to reduce their conflict of interest in this regard. So on our website, younglongislandforjustice.com/action, we have all of the action steps, the petition, calling your state senator and emailing them. We have a call script. We encourage you to do that tomorrow. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I think it's very self-explanatory. But ultimately, I'd also mention that, we are strong believers in organized labor. I've been in a union. I know other people on this chat have been in a union. We're strong supporters of organized labor. But there's a distinct mechanism with the police unions insofar as their control over policy. And so, I just want to make sure folks are clear on our position on that. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we hope you can join our day of action tomorrow.
Definitely. So just to reiterate, we organized this. We had 40 groups sign on. We are powerful. We are organizing our generation, millennials, Gen Z. However, when we work in coalition with other groups across Long Island, I know we have Strong Youth on the call right now. We have National Action Network. Shout out to Reggie. We have a bunch of our partner organizations. When we work in coalition, that is how we can most effectively apply that political power, like Kiana said, to really exert our political pressure. And we got coverage. There's more articles today in the Herald and Newsday about our protest. And so everyone, if you could please go to younglongislandforjustice.com/action. We will be sending this out in an email. We developed a whole toolkit for our day of action tomorrow. Shout out to Emily Kaufman from Long Island Network for Change for helping us create this, and Terrell. And
LINC, our link allies.
Exactly. So it has our letter right here, our co-sponsors, which the list is growing. We have to update this tonight. And the steps. Number 1, sign the petition. This is a petition, we just launched it tonight, where you as an individual and can show your individual support to ask our state senators to donate the money that they got from police unions to bail funds, and then also to, like Nikhil said, stop taking it in the future. We did research. We went back to their filings, years, to get that information there. So sign that, share that on social media, share that on Instagram. And then also in the Action Hub, we have, the numbers, the email script, the call script. Right. And then also shout out to Alex. Thank you so much. She made these amazing graphics. And we're going to share this on our Instagram as well. Okay. So for the sake of time, we will move on. Oh, really quickly, when you go to protest, we need your help to grow our movement. Again, we're only as strong as how many people are acting in collection. So go to our website, younglongislandforjustice.com/protest. We have a downloadable flyer that you can print and then cut in half and hand out to people. We got hundreds of people recruited last week because we did this. So please, if you could be ambassadors this weekend or tomorrow when you go to protests. So yeah, again, tomorrow, like what Marv said, is Juneteenth. There's a lot of amazing events. We are so proud to co-sponsor a few of them, and we will be listing that. If you want Young Long Island for Justice to co-sponsor your event, please DM us or email us. Our handle is Young Long Island for Justice. That should have an S. Island is misspelled there, but you know the deal. So this was organized by YLIJ member Jacob Perez. Shout out to him. And that's going to be in Valley Stream tomorrow. Then we have another protest organized by Young Long Island for Justice member Sabrina Syed. She is really feeling passionate about racial equity in her school district. So she created a petition. We hosted it. It's hosted on the Young Long Island for Justice Action Network site, which is hosting all of our petitions. It has 347 signatures as of a few hours ago. So, please check that out. Sign that if you're in the Manhasset area as well. And we're going to be working on a school district toolkit so that if you feel like you're an alum or you're a member of your school district and you want to organize, we're going to put that together. I know Marv has been doing an incredible job with Long Beach and is kind of the template. Shout out to Jasmine. I think she's on the call right now. She's putting together this Mineola Vigil for Black women and trans lives. Tomorrow, Mineola 5 to 6. As we know, not all Black lives can matter until all Black lives matter. Black children, Black trans lives, Black queer lives, Black women, Black females, Black femmes, everything. So we're proud to organize that as well, co-sponsor that. There's going to be a protest in Levittown. Shout out to Levittown. We know Levittown has a racist history in terms of its beginnings in suburbia Long Island. Shout out to Eric Chavez, who's organizing this with Levittown Coalition for Change, as well as us and Muslims for Progress. Like Marv said, we are a collective, so everyone is invited to our big tent party for racial justice. We talked about this last week. Ariana Levin, she is, I think, 16 or 17 years old. She's doing an amazing job organizing a Juneteenth Long Island Unity March tomorrow that will be kicking off from Amityville at 6 p.m. And walking down to Cedar Creek Park. More information there, and also on our website, younglongislandforjustice.com/events. Does anyone want to speak to this? Our next upcoming initiatives?
Yes. So obviously, am I off mute? Yes, okay. Jesus, the Zooms, you have to make sure you're off mute. So we are, doing a lot of work. All of the things are happening all at once. All the things are on our Instagrams or on our TikToks, if you're still using TikTok, even though they have some issues with being fair about showing all the information, whatever, moving on. So we are working with multiple groups, organizations to not only amplify youth voices, but have a collective voice on the issues that we want to have focused on. We're working with LINC, LIPC, Strong Young, Long Island Black Alliance, Long Island Black Alliance. Everything's got LI in it, and it's like LI. Anyways, so we're working with all of these groups, Strong Youth, to make sure that we have one collective voice about what we want Long Island to look like in the next, year. Cross your fingers. At least with a forward-thinking progress. So we're working on. I am part of the committee that is working on the budget and having, a town hall possibly to explain to people how to review the budget and advocate for certain items that we want to be refocused. We have our LGBTQ+ and BLM protest, which is to advocate for the lives of Tony McDade, Remy, and the other beautiful trans people that have recently lost their lives within the past week, as well as that's going to be a teach-in virtual town hall, which we're really excited about, because we know that if you're going to advocate for Black lives, you're going to advocate for all Black lives. So we are emphasizing, we're putting the spotlight specifically on our trans community, on our LGBTQ+ community, to make sure that we not only uplift ourselves as Black and brown people, but as well as our queer identity and being comfortable with who we are and being allowed to be safe in our spaces. So that's what's coming on. That's what's happening on Thursday, June 25th. We expect a large turnout. We're really, really excited about what it's going to look like and to have all of you and more people there. So we have many more things down the pipeline. We are keeping the movement strong and up and moving. And we want to just emphasize, thank every single one of you who is taking the time to really commit to this movement, because there's a lot that's going on, and I'm sure each of us is dealing with personal issues, and this is really just adding to the plate. So I want to emphasize that you're all beautiful people, you're all powerful people. We are speaking our truths and we are taking charge of this moment, and it's important, and we're not letting go, we're not giving up until we get what we want. Power to the people.
That's right. So really quickly, I know we're going to get to this or whatnot in the open floor, but we have some people that are elevating the protest they're doing. I know Mariana just dropped the Port Jeff Facebook link, and then also Aquasia. She is, one of our friends. She did a phenomenal job last week helping to organize the Baldwin Roosevelt protest. She's doing a protest tomorrow, she says, at 12 p.m. Maybe she can speak to that during our open floor.
Cool. So let's get to our favorite part of these sessions. It's the virtual town hall. So folks can, we have an open floor for you to share your thoughts, your suggestions, and the work that you've been doing. You can shout out a protest, to share your opinions. We ask that you limit your speaking to 1 minute. We know we have a lot of folks who always want to share. We want to make sure we get to as many people as we can before we end the call. So you can raise your hand or type in the chat, like if you want to speak. Honoring the from last week, the list that we had from last week. I think we have first Travis Nelson.
Yes. The only person I have that is from last week who didn't get to speak is Travis Nelson. And I believe this particular Travis is also on as part of the PACT. So I don't know if you are at liberty to speak about that, but we would love to know how you feel about being a part of it. Not to put you on the spot, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, because it was literally just announced yesterday, but like, shouts to you for being on there.
Right, and Travis also this weekend organized a great protest going from the Hempstead Transit Center to the county legislature through Garden City. I was there. It's very powerful, and a great job, Travis. So if you want to unmute yourself, or I guess we can unmute you, you can go ahead and speak. That's fine. Travis, you're unmuted.
Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry, just my service isn't too good over here, so I sadly can't turn on my video at this moment. But I do want to thank Young Long Island for Justice. This is such a powerful coalition, a powerful movement, and you have people from all walks of life that are invested in this and invested in seeing change and creating a world that we're more proud to be a part of. I think me being a part of this new initiative that was announced the other day is very rewarding for me. But I definitely want this to not be self-serving. And the first thing that I've told everybody who's spoken to me about this is that I refuse to be a part of anything performative. And so for those on live, for those on the rest of this call, we are in earnest about our position. We will not equivocate about that. And when we meet with these stakeholders, with these people who have the position to create change, we will make our voices heard and make sure that they know that our stance is that the money that they have that has been so just drawn to one side of our communities and one side of our state and our society can be distributed further to actually uplift the community and create just a better society. And that is something that I look forward to being a part of and engaging in further conversation with. I know there are so many other names that should have been chosen, which is why I'm extremely humbled that mine was. But for those who I know have been doing this work, are going to continue doing this work, please, my name is Travis Nelson. That is my name on almost every social media platform. You can feel free to contact me, message me any of your thoughts, any critiques, criticisms, or recommendations for those meetings, for what you'd like to see as initiatives as a part of this this new thing that we're doing, so that we can make sure that this is a community-driven effort. That the stakeholders, which are the activists that have been on the ground, are the ones influencing the policy that comes out as a result of this, and that at the end we actually achieve change structurally and systemically for our communities, for Greater Nassau County, and for a better country.
Yes, if that does not motivate you to get to the protests tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all over again, I don't know what else will. All right, so I just want to emphasize two things. I'm taking a list of those of you, I'm diligently watching the chat to make sure I take a list of people who are speaking and who have raised their hands. I just want to emphasize, to raise your hands in Zoom, you go to the bottom of your screen, you click participants, and at the bottom of the screen, you should see an option to raise your hand. I will see that on the side of the chat, and I'll be able to unmute you so that you can speak. I have next Jennifer Young, and after her, please help me if I mispronounce your name, Magine Garcon. So Jennifer, I'm gonna unmute you now. Oh, wait. There we go.
To everyone here. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Hi guys, my name is Jennifer Young. I previously worked for a nonprofit called Sustainable Long Island that was really focused on sustainability and social justice here on the island. They went out of business, so I don't work there anymore, but I always wanted to stay in that realm of work, so this is a really awesome opportunity, even if it's not my full-time job anymore. Amazing job to everyone on the call. And I also just wanted to say two things. I've kind of converted my personal Instagram into just promoting protests in the past couple of weeks. I created a Google Doc where I post all of them. I update it multiple times a day just to keep it as updated as possible. I will put my contact info in the chat as soon as I'm done talking. The other thing I wanted to bring up is there is an organization called the Right to Know Your Rights, and they are holding protests tomorrow at multiple locations, but they're specifically looking for organizers who can help in Amityville and Farmingdale at those train stations at 12 p.m. I guess they're a little limited right now on resources with getting organizers to all of the different locations that they're going to be at. So again, if anyone wanted to reach out about that, I'm going to post all of my contact info in the chat. And if anyone has any protests they want to promote, I know Young Long Island for Justice, you guys have been reposting my stuff. I love that. I'm so happy to see people utilizing it. And again, I'll put my contact info there. Feel free to reach out to me.
Also, Jen, if you would like to take over our Instagram, girl, you can have the keys to the kingdom. We'll talk about that later.
Thank you. You know, I already do it for an animal rescue too. I might as well keep going.
Well, thank you so much for that information. Jennifer, can you also, I might have missed it because my hearing just went out for a little bit. Can you also post in the chat that information so that we can make sure to share it to our emails? And
Absolutely, I will do that right now.
Thank you for your work. Next, I have Miss Magine Garcon. I'm going to unmute you. And after her, I have Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. My name is May Jean. I'm new to the group, and I'm so excited to be here. I guess I have more statements, concerns, and questions. So I have been very active. I live in Elmont. We have been, in my opinion, silent in a way about what's been going on, and it's been concerning to me, being that, you know, I'm in a predominantly mixed African-American Black community, and I'm not sure if it's just the message not getting to us or what it is. So I've been very vocal about that on social media, and it reached out to, I've been able to reach out to my assemblywoman. So to help her understand why I'm concerned about her silence. And I think it's very important. She may not have an election this year, but she will have one soon. So I am in the process of setting up a meeting with her to make sure that she understands concerns of Elmont and Valley Stream and all the districts that she currently represents. And I would love it if I could have someone to, you know, help me when I do go to that meeting, so we have a concrete plan of what we plan to see in our community. And that's pretty much what I want to raise up. And also, I just want to know if it would be possible for more people to engage in the town hall as far as what they want to potentially see and how they want this group to grow. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are great points, and we can put out a survey. I think we have a survey that we can continue to put out over the next few weeks to get more input. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. And also, we do have, our intention of expanding is to ask people to join our committees and be racial equity ambassadors, to be a part of those conversations and to help organize your community, because it's going to be about those of us who are in the areas that aren't hearing what needs to be heard or aren't seeing the response, to know how to organize the community around what should be said and how to get those electeds to say what we want them to say and hear what we want them to hear. So that's one of the ways we are looking to expand. And I would be happy to provide you with my contact information, and you and I can sit down and prepare how to have that conversation with your elected official. And even if we as an organization, like if you all have these meetings with your electeds, it's important to acknowledge that, yes, we want to have a unified voice and we want to have a unified goal list of demands, but we also want them to hear you as their constituent. So if we make a list of things that don't fill everything, you have the right to not only expand it, but to say, I am your constituent. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. So you, regardless of whether I agree with everybody else or whether I take, you know, YLIJ or LIPC's notes, I'm here in front of you at your office. I want you to listen to what I'm saying to you. And if you want, like, we can go as a group. Shoot, you don't gotta go by yourself. But absolutely, you and I can sit down. I'll chat you privately, and I'll send you my information so that we can talk. Next, I have Miss Jasmine Helm. I am unmuting you.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Jasmine Chavez Helm. I found out about this group at the Manila protest on June 10th. We're still in the month of June, right? June, yes. And I am organizing, I live in Mineola. I'm originally from LA and New York City. I was working in New York City. I was recently furloughed. So I've had more time to participate in this type of work. I generally work in fashion, but I am organizing a vigil in Mineola tomorrow at 5 p.m. And it's focused on honoring and recognizing the lives of Black women and Black trans folks that have lost their lives due to police brutality, violence by a member of society, and or within custody. So candles, masks, and gloves will be provided at a limited number. So I'll be speaking briefly, and there will be a reading of names as well. And Josh, I believe, is going to come through and say some words, and then the floor is open to any BIPOC person that wants to share, and then we go from there and see what happens. I know there is another march at 7, which is why I stopped this one at 6. So if people want to walk there, happy to walk with you. And yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you very much for that information. Make sure to drop it into the chat box so we can save that. I have next on my list Reggie Pope, and also names are really important to me. So if I'm saying your name wrong, please correct me. I'm not adverse to doing things right.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
How is everyone?
Oof.
I am the president of National Action Network, the Nassau County chapter. National Action Network is a civil rights and social justice organization presided by Reverend Al Sharpton. I am the co-founder, and I've been the president for the past 6 years. I just want to know that I am glad to be here with you all, and I'm looking to serve. Any committees that are available, I'd appreciate an email from either you, Deanna, or Nikel, and let me see where I could fit in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, absolutely. Nan has done a great deal of the legwork from the civil rights movement and how long it's been established. So we definitely recognize the path that we follow and the path that has the shoulders that we stand on. So thank you, Mr. Pope, for joining us this evening and supporting our movement and the continuation of our movement. Next, I have a Miss Sydney Weiser. Taking you off mute.
Hi, I am not sure if this is a silly question, but as y'all have more experience than I do, I was wondering if anyone could speak on if like emailing versus calling elected officials tends to be more impactful, or if there's like do both all on everything, or if there is like any significant difference between those two strategies.
Yeah, I would say that both are very, very important. Like in most offices, like you're required to log the amount of emails per particular issue, and like constituent services presents that to the elected so that they can see, you know, on a given day they got, you know, 15 calls about this issue and, you know, 30 emails about this issue. So I would definitely recommend both. And I can say as a, you know, person who's worked in government on and off for the past 10 years that like we typically mostly hear from the, you know, the Karens talking about, you know, fence height and speaking about, you know, how a pothole in their street, which I guess is important, but we never really hear, quite frankly, about the issues of race. And that's it's infuriating.
It'd be all right.
It's infuriating, really. So, like, I think it's very important for us to use this moment and the collective, you know, voice that we all have to contact our elected officials in whatever medium that we can, whether that be emailing, if we're capable, if that is calling, if that also is commenting on people's Facebook and Twitter statuses, that's also important as well. So by any platform, any means that you're able to do so, we always urge, you know, contacting your elected officials, because we need to hear more from the young people on this phone call and less from the Karens, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with everything Marv said. I'm someone who used to work in government, and for me, I would read the emails and I would catalog them. But if I had someone who came to the office or someone who called, they kind of skip the ladder because they're right there, they're right in front of me. So all of the things, do all the things, do all the calls, all the texts, all the tweets, you know, do it until you get tired. You know, maybe one day just send a mess of emails, the next day just leave a mess of voicemails. do whatever you have the most time for, but the most effective thing is the consistency of how often you do it. And also, no question is silly. Like, there's a collective here, so even if our steering committee doesn't have the answer, we'll find you someone that does. Next, I have Jennifer Levy.
Can everyone mute themselves?
Okay. And Jennifer, I believe I unmuted you. There you go.
Hey, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So first and foremost, I definitely want to thank you all for putting, I know that it takes a lot of work for you guys to be putting all of this together. So Young Long Island for Justice, thank you. I think the town halls are great, and the teach-ins that you have planned for the future are definitely needed for our community right now. And there is just a little bit of information that I want to share. So my name is Jennifer Levesque, and I essentially, like a lot of you guys on this call, were born and raised on Long Island, all right? So while racial injustice is a hot topic right now, I definitely want to urge everyone on the call to also take interest in a lot of the other issues that are facing our community at this time. I don't know about you guys, but Long Island is freaking expensive. I was born here, I was raised here, I want to stay here, and so there are a lot of actions that need to be taken multiple. It's kind of like a multi-pronged approach, right? We've got protesters in the streets. We need people showing up at those county legislator meetings. We need people, we need voices. I know that they're long. Sometimes these meetings start at 9:30 a.m. and they go all the way up until like 6:30 at night. Maybe you'll take a break for the bathroom. But guess what? If we want to be taken seriously as the young professional population, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what we need to do. What I want to share with you guys is that in Suffolk County, there's actually a resolution number 647. It was signed by Steve Ballone in 2016, and essentially it establishes a next generation advisory council. What that next generation advisory council calls for is residents aged 22 to 35 years old. And essentially what they established was one resident to represent each of the districts. And so in Suffolk County, we've got 18 districts and 18 legislators. In Nassau's got 19 legislators, so there's those 19 districts. Guess what? Do you think those seats are filled right now? Like, they're not filled. And so I definitely just want to implore and just be a voice to say, we are a united effort. I personally feel that at times we're making action in Suffolk, we're making action in Nassau, but realistically, like, I love that county executive in Nassau responded. But guess what, Steve Ballone? Like, I want a response. And guess what? Everyone else on the call that lives or is a resident of Suffolk right now, we all need to get together to be a united front on the issues that are facing us all, because it's the same for all of us, whether you're in Nassau or whether you're in Suffolk. And so as soon as I'm done speaking, I'm just gonna go ahead and drop the link for Next Gen Long Island on Instagram. I definitely feel that there are a lot of different groups and a lot of different organizations working towards a lot of the same issues, but I want to emphasize and stress that we need people to actually represent the resolutions that they have established. I would also love to see Laura Curran in Nassau County. Like, I love the PACT that was in place, and I love that you guys have representatives that are both students and activists in the community. But guess what? I would love to see a piece of legislation passed. I would love to see a resolution passed in Nassau as well that establishes a committee. Don't pacify us. Don't.
100%.
Right. And to add to that, like, you know, we definitely in Nassau have been trying to push for that. I know I wrote a report last year from the Comptroller's office regarding and the county controller in Nassau regarding next generation. But I also want to make sure that we're stressing and centering people of color, specifically Black people, in all this work. You know, there's intersectionality, as we all know, within all these different issues that we have that we all are advocating for. There's so many at once. But when we talk about, you know, needing to develop affordable housing for young people on Long Island, we also need to make sure that we're speaking specifically to Black people and affordable housing for those folks, because as we know, if we help those at the bottom, everyone else rises. And sometimes, you know, during these movements, we get off track and, you know, forget about Black folks. So we got to make sure, again, in all of our work, what we're doing, we're centering and uplifting Black people, because every single one of these issues that we talk about, whether that be trans rights, whether that be pride, whether that be affordable housing, access to transit, you know, Black people are disproportionately impacted, and we need to make sure that's centered in our work.
Word. Thank you, guys.
Really quickly, shout out to Jennifer. She came correct with the stats and the data and the districts. Like, we need this energy. She done her research. Thank you so much. Please stay involved. Sign up to be a racial equity ambassador or whatever that organization was. We want to work with you. We need you. Thank you so much.
And I also want to emphasize, absolutely, Miranda, it's important that I can't tell you how many times I've seen elected officials get on a platform and ask, you know, we have to keep our youth on the island. Like, we don't know where they are and they're leaving in droves. Well, there's a reason for that. And what they didn't expect was for us to they didn't know how many of us there actually were. And now they shook. Now all of a sudden they're making PACTs and they're like passing bills. Like, yeah, we're here now. We're here now. You were looking for us. Boop, there we is. So this is what we want. Stop playing games like you don't know, like you wanted us here, we're here. So absolutely, sister girl, I hear you, I feel you, yes.
And I think we have time for a few more questions. We're gonna shut down at 9:15.
I have Miranda, Buckley, and Dubé. Miranda, I'm gonna unmute you. There it goes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. I'm sorry, girl, I'm delayed, that's my bad, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just on this Zoom call, mama. That's okay, you guys. I'm in the car with my mom, but I want you all to know that we have a Facebook group called no, it's okay, guys. It's okay. You guys are fine. Can you guys hear me over my mom, or is it okay? Yep. What do you guys think?
You're fine. We say hey.
Okay. We've been meeting every night in Huntington. We're called the Leaders of the New School. And what we do is every night after work, for people that don't work, you can go during the day, because the Tri-CYA in Huntington is open all day long, providing resources to adults and children. But when we get off work, the Leaders of the New School, we meet and we go over different policies and strategies to help Long Island. So what we're trying to do is gain as many supporters with the Leaders of the New School so that we can take this movement all over Long Island. We should be on the news tomorrow. Today we met with a lot of very important supervisors, superintendents, Lupinacci from Huntington. We met with a lot of people. 12 News Channel 12 was there. They recorded it all. They asked them a lot of very hard questions that dealt with a lot of things that you guys talked about tonight: the fair housing, the equality in the school system, the punishment, all of those topics that you guys are speaking of. But it is important for us to come together, like everybody has been saying, as a coalition, putting these groups' ideas together so that when we approach these officials, we approach them as a voice for the entire community, and not just for Huntington or for Brentwood or for Wyandanch, but that we're supporting every community and making sure that we have those voices heard at these meetings. So Tri-CYA guys, Huntington, come see us Monday through Sunday. We are there. Let's get the policies rolling.
Thank you so much for that.
Also, Miranda, we'd love to connect you to our friends at Long Island Network for Change in Huntington. I know Emily and Terrell's on the line. They're also in Huntington, and they're trying to be connected to everyone.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. Let me drop my contact now.
Alrighty, thank you for that. Dubé, you are our last speaker. I'm gonna unmute you.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Doobie. I'm from Bowman. Me and Equasia, she's actually on the call now too. We both organized the protest that went from Roosevelt to Baldwin last week. We have a protest scheduled for tomorrow that'll start in Northeast at 12, and it'll go through Baldwin, Roosevelt, and Freeport. And we're just pushing to try to get change and solutions, as well as the use of police in school systems, the misuse of we feel they are misused, and I am a victim of police brutality at my school. I also have the story and the pictures on my page as well. And we're just looking for resolutions. We'll continue as far as Nassau, Suffolk, wherever we have to be. We will join anybody's protests. And we're just trying to, look for not only just protests, but actually look for solutions as far as the authoritative figures, and for them to explain to us how they plan on changing, and not just telling us that we need reform, but we need a complete system change. And that's what we're pushing for right now.
Okay. Alrighty. Well,
before Kiana ends it with that Kiana energy that I know she's going to take us out with a big closing, just really quickly, if everyone can just remember, tomorrow, day of action, we have to back up all this energy with calls. They never get calls. If they get 10 calls, that's a big deal for them. So if we all use the action, the toolkit, younglongislandforjustice.com/action. We're going to post it on our Instagram. Please make those calls, send those emails. This is going to be a BFD, a big deal. Thank you so much.
All right. So big energy. So you are amazing people. There are 50, we started with 60 people, a little over, we lost a few people, but I hope that all of you understand that there is a collective of people here doing all of the work. We are the generation that's really going to drive this home. We are taking this and we're finishing it. We are making these changes that we need to make. We're calling out the people who need to be called out, and we're telling people the best way that our generation does, with straight facts. This is a problem. This is a problem. I don't have time for it. I don't want to deal with it. I'm not going to anymore. There are too many of us whose ancestors, whose grandparents, whose parents, whose brothers, sisters, siblings, we're dealing with too much nonsense that we don't need to be dealing with at our young ages. Enough is enough. I have more gray hairs now than I probably will ever have. And I'm too young. I'm too young for all of this. So I just want to tell all of you, remind you as you're walking, especially this weekend, it's supposed to be very hot. Drink your water, eat your vegetables, eat your fruits. We're going to keep doing this until they give us what we want, because millennials and all of us younger, all we deal with is instant gratification. And quite frankly, I'm not satisfied. It's not happening fast enough. So I have every intention of being at all the protests. And even now, I still call my elected and I was like, congratulations, claps for you, but you're not done. You're not finished. I still want you to talk about this, this, and this. And I still want these bills passed. So I definitely, if those of you are, those of you who are interested in talking to your electeds, I will share my information to the chat. We can have a conversation. I can help you traverse those conversations, because if I hear another elected say, oh, where are the young people? Oh, they're gonna be so upset, because we're gonna show up in a drove. We will show up in all of our trucks and all of our cars. We will walk there. But no more of this, oh, well, where are the millennials? Where are the young people? What do they want us to talk about? Yeah, we're telling you what we want to talk about. You don't have to look for us no more. You don't have to look for us anymore. We're here. We know how to talk to you, and you're not going to try and trick us with that mess of, oh, well, we have to do the budget this way, and we have to pass legislation this way. Nah, bump that. I want it done this way. I want it said this way. I want all of my people protected. I want all these racist statues taken down. I want all the schools named after real, inspiring, helpful, hopeful people. We're done with it. We're moving on. We're changing our country. We're changing our island. We are claiming it as ours. We're claiming it for our indigenous people. We're claiming it for our immigrant community. We're claiming it for our Black and brown community. Enough is enough. We're here. We're changing it. Live life. You're beautiful. All of y'all, we love you. If that energy don't get you up and ready for Friday, Juneteenth, I don't know what will. So thank you all. I'm calming down now. Thank you all for joining us. All of you will continue to communicate the issues that you care about, continue to communicate with us. And we're just going to keep doing it. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep walking, and we're going to be proud, powerful people while we're doing it.